LinkedIn, Facebook, Mixer, YouTube, and Periscope. So let me know where in the world you are watching from. Let me know if you are watching the replay. Just put hashtag replay in the comments. I can see that Sunny is here watching on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Sunny says, Ian is a great guy. Thank you very much. So, yes, today we're going to be talking about the whole process, my process of producing this live show from the planning stage through to the promotion, the production, the post-promotion, and the repurposing, because I turn this into a blog post, I turn this into a podcast. There's loads of moving parts in this. And like all of you watching and listening, I'm really busy with lots of stuff. I'm juggling lots of things. And so I wouldn't be without this process, which I've developed over, well, pretty much the last few years. It's taken a long time to get to this process. So yeah, great to see you watching. I can see Martin Buckland is here watching from Toronto. Great to see you, Martin. Hope you're doing well. Yes, I know that many of us are trapped in our country at the moment. We were hoping to go to Toronto, Martin, in July. I think it was late July, beginning of August. That's not happening now for obvious reasons because of COVID-19. But there we go. But yeah, lots of exciting things happening. That's definitely to be said. So that's exciting stuff. I'm going to be sharing my process with you. I'd love to know what your process is when it comes to producing any kind of content, whether it's live, whether it's blogs, whether it's webinars, that type of thing. But I'm going to be sharing my process with you today. So I think enough of me gibbering on, and I'll be with you just after this.
This is the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray, helping entrepreneurs level up their impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. Gain confidence in front of the camera, confidence with technology, and confidence with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Hello, Ian Anderson Gray here. This is the Confident Live Marketing Show. This is where I help you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. But one of the problems that so many people have that I speak to, my audience all around the world, my clients, is the whole problem of time. There's just not enough time. And I've been asked by quite a few people recently to talk about my process of how I produce all this content, whether it's the live show or repurposing into a blog post or podcasts, that type of thing. That's what I'm going to be sharing today. I'm going to be sharing my process in Asana. My goodness, though, what has happened to my hair? If you're listening to the podcast, you're probably best actually just staying with the podcast, because my hair is a complete mess. There's not much I can do about it at the moment because, I'm not going to be seeing a hairdresser probably until mid-July at the earliest, because that's what's happening in the UK at the moment. But anyway, I hope you can forgive that. The branding needs to change. So the branding on my mic flag has got me with short hair. Anyway, we're just going to have to deal with that. So this is episode 58. You can find out the show notes for this when the podcast is out, and the podcast is out this Friday at iag.me/58. But I think it's time to get on with my first sponsor, which is StreamYard, StreamYard.com. I love StreamYard because it's such a simple tool to use. If you're just getting started with live video and you're not so worried about all the, whizzy, stuff that you can do with some of these other tools, but you still want power and you want loads of other features. Well, I'm going to talk to you about some of those features. StreamYard is great because it's a powerful yet easy to use tool that works in your web browser. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Mac user or a PC user, it works for you, which is great. And it's so easy and simple to use. It's particularly great if you're going to have people on the show, guests on the show. You can highlight comments on the screen. You can add your own titles. You can have up to 5 guests on your show without any extra software. You can share your screen, and your guests can share your screen as well. You can add your own brand colors. You can stream to Facebook, Periscope, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Twitch, and more. And you can use green screens. I'm actually not using my green screen today. I thought I'd have a bit of a change. But all of that is on the free version of StreamYard, which is awesome. Now, if you if you're on one of the paid plans, you get even more. You get the ability to add your own logo on the screen. You can add overlays, backgrounds, videos, and also you can pre-record. Yeah, you can add pre-recorded videos, but you can multicast or multi-stream to up to 5 destinations at the same time. So that allows you to broadcast to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, or LinkedIn Live. It's really, really cool. So if you want to find out more, all you need to do is go to iag.me/StreamYard. It's got a free plan and a free trial on the paid ones as well. So that's iag.me/StreamYard. Awesome. So if you are watching live or watching the replay, let me know where in the world you are watching from. If you're watching the replay, just put #replay. And if you're listening to the podcast, it's great to have you here. I really, really don't take it for granted that you are putting me into your ears every single week. And if you want to find out more about the podcast, it comes out every Friday. It's basically a repurposing of this show, but we add some extra stuff. I also sing a little song every single week. Then all you need to do is go to iag.me/podcast. That's iag.me/podcast. So in today's show, I'm talking about saving time with my Confident Live process. This has taken time to put together, but now that I've put that in place, I've created this process. It saves me so much time moving forwards. And not only that, having a process can eradicate or certainly reduce the amount of stress that you have. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was going to be going live 3 times last week. I was going to be not quite batching my broadcasts, but I was certainly going to try and fit in 3 last week. But there was a problem. And I basically forgot to take a day off last week. And so I think I went probably without a proper day off for about 10, maybe not as many as 10 days, but felt like 10 days straight. And unlike some people, I just can't do that. I need that time off, that downtime. And so when I got to the Wednesday, I was feeling really tired. By Friday, I was completely zonked. I had a bit of burnout, to be quite honest. And so I had to take Friday off. I took Monday off. And that was really important for me. But when you then come back to doing a live show after a bit of a break, it's amazing how many things you can forget about the whole process. So having them written down, all the stages, is so important. And I think it's actually important to treat yourself like a bit of an idiot. I treat myself like an idiot quite on the best of times because it's so easy to forget things, even the simplest things. Quite often, it's actually the simple things that you forget when it comes to putting on a live show, particularly if there are lots of moving parts. So I also had a question from Joe North. I don't know whether you're live at the moment watching this or whether you're watching the replay, Joe. But her question was, making time for live and actually even pre-recorded video can be a bit of a tough thing. How can we be more productive with all of that? Some people have more time at the moment with the whole crisis around the world with COVID-19, but some people are more are busier than ever. And so how do you find how can we be more productive when it comes to producing live video? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in this show. And so I wanted to talk about a tool called Asana. Asana is a really cool tool. I'm just going to share it on my screen. Now, you don't have to use Asana, but Asana is a project management tool. It doesn't matter whether you're working on your own or whether you are in a team, but Asana is really cool. So Asana, actually, let me just go to this screen here. So I've putting on my screen. If you're listening to the podcast, don't worry, I'm going to be going through every single stage of this, talking you through this. But Asana is a project management tool that works either on your own or you can works really well if you're working on a team as well. So I've put this into Asana. And by the way, Asana has a free plan. I just used the free plan, so that's pretty awesome. And I put every single step of my process in this process. So I've got a template here called the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. And I've gone through everything. Now, in my description, I'm still thinking about things. I'm still thinking about, well, how can I improve this process? So what I've done and what I recommend that you do is this, remember that this is actually work in progress. This is still work in progress for me. And so I'm still thinking about this. And so, for example, I've written down here, I've still got to think about the timing and how to schedule my lives to help promote the dates for people to watch live. So I haven't quite figured that out. I was talking about this last week. I haven't quite figured out the date and time every week for that to happen. And also the timing of when to drive people to the podcast as well. So I want to think about that. I also want to think about more about Facebook bots. I had Amanda Robinson on the show. I really want to start to use those more. I want to have add in some opt-ins for Facebook Live with comments. If you want to know more about that, how you can actually send a message when people leave a comment on your Facebook Lives, then just go back to Amanda Robinson's episode. And also text messaging as well, SMS messaging. So you can actually send out a text when people subscribe. When your next podcast is or your live show is out, you can send a text message out to people who have subscribed to let them know that you're going live, which is cool. Also, I've been messing around with auto captions for Facebook. Now, this is pretty cool. I think I've got them switched on actually. So if you're watching on Facebook, you should be able to see the Facebook has auto-generated captions. Now, it doesn't always get these right, and I'm still playing around with these, but this is quite cool. If you're watching live and you've got the sound muted, you should still have a vague idea of what I'm talking about because Facebook is transcribing what I'm saying in real time, which is amazing. So that's an option on Facebook. On YouTube, it's also an option, but I believe it's only for people who have over 10,000 subscribers. I think it's that. I've got just over 1,000 on YouTube, so that's I'm building my YouTube channel. That's one of my big priorities this year. So yeah, I want to promote a Twitter list of my previous guests. And I'm also going to be playing around with something on my website called iag.me/live. So there we go. So I've talked right back at the beginning of this podcast. This was probably the first 10 episodes at least, I think, was the 5 Ps of live video. And just to remind you what they are, this is the whole planning process of your live videos. These are all the 5 steps that you need to think about. The first one is the planning of the live video, what it is that you're going to be discussing on the live show. Have you got a guest on that? What are you going to be talking about? And that type of thing. Where are you going to be going live? What time? When? All that kind of stuff. So that's the planning. The next stage is the pre-promotion. So this is getting your message out, getting the message out that you're going to be going live next Tuesday at 2:00 and to get people to watch that live show. So that is to do with the pre-promotion. Then it's time for the big day. It's time to go live. So that is the production, what goes into setting things up from a tech and gear point of view, but also what you're going to say, the whole confidence side of things as well, making sure that you're warming up your voice. So that's the production. Then we're on to, once you've pressed the end broadcast button, there's a few extra things to do from a production point of view. But then we're on to the post-promotion side of things. Because, of course, you've got to think about your replay audience. Yes, hopefully you've got a nice group of people who've watched you live, but then you've got all the people who are watching the replay, and you want to funnel more people into that, whether that's from your email list or whether it's from social media, that type of thing. So you've got to think about the post-promotion. And then perhaps the thing that I'm most excited about is the repurposing side of thing. And if you want to know more about repurposing, we've talked about that a lot on the show. Probably the best episode to go to is the one with Amy Woods on. And Amy Woods, her service Content 10X is a sponsor on the show. I'll talk a little bit more about Content 10X later. So yeah, you can find out more about that. But I'm going to be talking about all the steps that I put into place when it comes to repurposing on the show as well. So I'm going to share my screen again and go back to the beginning. And I've broken this process down into those 5 sections: planning, pre-promotion, production, post-promotion, and repurposing. And the repurposing is split into podcast, blog, and social. Now, I'm still working on this, but basically that's the rough idea of what I'm going for here. So let's look at the planning stage. The planning stage is all about thinking about what my next show is going to be. What is my topic? So on the Confident Live Marketing Show, I have three main themes. What are your themes? You've got to think about what are the themes going to be on either your show or if it's a different type of live video, like it's maybe sharing your thoughts and ideas. It's a little bit more informal. That's fine, but you still need to kind of have an idea of what you're going to be talking about. And I think having a theme to your show, your live broadcast, is a really good idea. So my themes are either it's the confidence and mindset. That's theme number one. Theme number two is the tech and the gear, confidence in that tech and gear. And then if I can speak properly, theme three is all about confidence in the content and marketing, the promotion side of things, but also getting the word out there. And so all of the shows that I do, all the podcasts that I do, are about one of those three themes. And so today is theme three. It's all about the content and marketing. It's the process side of things. Although, having said that, there's probably a little bit of confidence that comes into this too. So you have to think about the theme. If you've got a guest, you've got to really put a good process in place. And so the first thing that I do is I will send out my booking link to my guests so that they can book in to my calendar. That's really important, so that they can book in a time that's going to work for both of us. So the tool that I recommend for that is Calendly, calendly.com. It has a free tier and some paid ones as well. I use the paid version, which is cool, and it allows me to give them particular times. I can also ask them questions. For example, I can ask them what their Skype ID is because I'm using Ecamm Live. I need to have their Skype ID at the moment, at least. And I also need to have their headshot and their bio. And we also need to kind of just talk about, have a conversation about what is the topic that we're going to be talking about. So once then the guest schedules in Calendly, we'll then send them a checklist email. So my virtual assistant, Tonya, will do that. We've got that set up in Gmail. It's just a standard checklist that we send out. And that's all to do with, for example, just check your internet speed, make sure you've got a good setup with audio, also to remind them that this is not just a podcast recording. This is actually a live show. So you're going to have to turn up with your webcam switched on, but also it's live, just so that they don't get all stressed when that happens. Then we want to check that the guest has actually sent us their Skype ID, their headshot, their bio as well. And if they haven't sent us that, then either I or my virtual assistant will follow up with my guest about that. I haven't actually had to do this, but I've just put this in the checklist, in the process, which is I put schedule video test with guest. Now, I suppose I would do this if I have a guest on the show who's not used to live video, who maybe hasn't done this before, and we just want to check that everything's working really well. That hasn't happened yet, but I think maybe if I get people that are out of the video and marketing space, I may need to do that. So that's something else you need to think about. Then we create a video thumbnail, this is for YouTube and Facebook. You can have a placeholder image for those videos. So we create that in Canva. I've got a template in Canva. And if it is a solo show, we don't need this. But for a guest show, we'll just plonk the image of my guest on there and just change the text. And so we do that in Canva. We can download that, and then we can, that's really great for our promotional stuff. Then the next thing that I want to do is create my live video plan. So I create this as a Google Doc. Doesn't matter, again, where you do this. I find Google Docs is great because I can share that. It's accessible everywhere. So I create a Google Doc. It's got the title. It's got the URL. It's got my guest. It's got the bio. If I've got a guest on, so I know who they are and to introduce them. I've got questions. I've got bullet points in there. I've also got my sponsors in there as well. So I want to create that ahead of time so that when it comes to the day that I'm going to be going live, I've got everything in place there. So that is basically all the planning stage. Those are all the things that need to go in before I even think about going live. But the next stage is the pre-promotion. So this, I try and do this. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, this does not happen 7 days before, but I do try. My aim is to start doing this 7 days before the broadcast. So you can schedule your Facebook Lives up to 7 days in advance. So it's a good idea because they give you 7 days, it's a good idea to do that. And that means that you get a special web link to then to be able to share to your list. YouTube, you can actually schedule way in advance. I think it's at least a year, possibly even more, but that's a bit overkill. So I say, at 7 days, it's a good idea to schedule your YouTube video as well. Now, because of my setup, because I'm using Ecom Live and Restream, I just schedule my YouTube lives. I don't schedule my Facebook lives anymore. I'm hoping that Restream will add this, but at the moment it's only YouTube you can do that with. But that's cool because I'm wanting to promote my YouTube channel. So whatever you want to do, it's a good idea to schedule your broadcasts if you can, but certainly I recommend scheduling your YouTube broadcasts, definitely. So, but don't worry if you can't do that on Facebook, because there's a couple of great tools things that you can do. First of all, I use a service called Add Event. I've talked about this on the show. I used to use Send Calendar, but unfortunately, sendcalendar.com is dying a death. They are closing their doors down. In fact, they have. I think they're going to close it down to existing customers in August. So I now use a service called Add Event. And this allows me to create a subscribe link for people to subscribe to my shows on their calendar. So it could be on Apple Calendar, it could be Google Calendar, whatever they want. They can subscribe to this. And so every time I add a new show, all my subscribers will see my next shows in their calendar, which is great. So that's Add Event. Really cool tool. That's addevent.com. So I'll add my YouTube and Facebook Live links in there. But if you are on Facebook and you're going live on Facebook Live, then you can create an event page, not an event separate page, but an event within your page, so that people can your fans can subscribe to that, and you can invite your fans to that as well. Now, I've not used that much, but I'm going to be using that much more because it's a great way to promote your live shows ahead of time. And also it allows you to promote those using Facebook ads. You can't promote a Facebook Live using Facebook ads. They don't allow you to do that, but you can promote a Facebook event, which is awesome. The next thing is creating promotional content, images for your social channels, such as Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, that kind of thing. I've not done a terribly good job at this, so this is something that I'm going to be working on, but I've got that in the process, something that I really want to do to promote that. I also want to, this is really important, if you've got a guest, to send an email with the questions, a final reminder to my guests. So I will do that, make sure that they know where they're coming in, whether it's something like StreamYard or Restream, or if you're using Ecom Live, it would be Skype at the moment. So send them a reminder, making sure that they know what they're doing. And then it's a case of adding that promotional content on social media. So I use Agorapulse for this, but you could use any tool. You could go and actually just post it on Twitter manually or on Facebook or Instagram, but making sure that people know when you're going to go live. This is the pre-promotion stage. If you're going to be sending out an email to your email subscribers, then do that. You could use a tool called sendtrick.com, which allows you to embed a countdown timer in your emails, which gives that nice kind of urgency feel, which is cool. Okay, now on to the day that you're going to go live. It is time to go live. So there's a few things that you need to do. And I've talked about this a lot on the show. I haven't got this in the process. I probably should. And this is the whole thing of warming up the voice, making sure that your voice is sounding good, that your body is feeling relaxed and full of energy as well, if that's not a contradiction in terms. That's really important. But from a technical point of view, here are some of the things that we need to do. I've just noticed that, actually, no, that is post-promotion. Let's go up to production. There we go. So the first thing, once you've checked that you are nice and confident, you've gone through all the tech part of things, make sure that your microphone's working, that your internet's working, the speed test. There's a whole separate checklist that you need to go through. And so I've actually, I don't know whether I've actually got that in here. Let's just check whether I've done that. I've added some of this, but not all of it. So I need to probably go through all of that actually in the list. So yeah, first of all, you need to think about checking all the technical side of things, making sure your internet is on, making sure your internet speed is great, that your audio, your video is working, that your computer is not overheating, which is a problem that I sometimes have. But then you go live. I mean, it's once you've set all that, the technical side of things, you go live. I use Ecamm Live and Restream for that. Make sure that you are moderating and engaging with comments. So again, I use that in Ecamm Live as well. At the end of it, then I will make sure that I will then download the recording of that, either from Ecamm Live or YouTube. I will put that into my Dropbox for later for repurposing. That's really important. And then I will then go into Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, the posts, and I'll update those posts with a brief summary so that my replay audience are going to be able to see that. And they'll have a better idea of what this video is all about. And then I will update my video plan. Remember that Google Docs that I was talking about before? I'll go back into that and I'll update that now that I know what it is. Some of the added things that I'm talked about. I might have some links that I want to talk about. This is particularly important if you have guests on. Sometimes they will drop a few extra links and resources, and so you want to add that in there so that when you produce your blog post later, you've got that all there. So that's the production. Right, well, before we talk about post-promotion and repurposing, I think it's time to talk about my next sponsor, which is Content 10x, content10x.com, who have been sponsoring this podcast right from the start. Content 10x are awesome, and they do all my social media images, which is saves me so much time. So Content 10x are basically the complete content repurposing agency. And so my question to you really is, do you want to find ways to create more content, but maybe you're worried about time, you're struggling with time, and that's what we're talking about on this show today. Well, Content 10x can really, really help you, whether you hire them as your content repurposing agency or whether you learn from them and do it yourself. So they can take that one live stream that you produce, or it could be taking a blog post or a podcast or a video, and they can explode it in a plethora of different content on a new platform that maybe you've not really thought about before. So it could be that you put a lot on your blog, but you want to make that into a podcast, or you want to take your podcast and make that into a blog post, or you want to take a live video and make that into a podcast or a blog post. So Content 10x can really help with that. So if you don't want to do it yourself, you can certainly learn from them. They've got so much out there to help you. They've got a podcast, a blog, a book, and a toolkit. So all of those things you can learn yourself, or of course you can hire them, and they have an amazing service, an amazing team to help you do that. They're really smart, they're responsive, they get back to you really quickly, they're creative and effective. And I wouldn't be recommending them if I didn't believe all of those things. So if you want to take the stress out of content marketing, Content 10x are the people that you want to go to. Visit content10x.com to find out more. And I thank Amy and the team for sponsoring this podcast and for their support. So it's now time to get on with post-promotion. So you press the end broadcast button. That's not the end of it, as I'm sure you know. There's so much other stuff that you need to think about. So what do you need to think about? Well, if you have a guest on the show, it's really important to send an email to them to thank them for that live show and to tell them when the podcast is out. I'm actually going to plonk that in the production. That's kind of almost a production thing. But adding the guest to a Twitter list, if you're on Twitter, that's a really nice little thing that you can do. I will email Content 10x as well once I've edited the podcast and make sure that they know. Actually, not when the podcast is ready, but once I've done the live show, I'll email them to say that I've broadcasted the show. You can create some images now for that. So that's what they do. So I'll add that onto my Google Sheet so that Content 10x know all the stuff. They've got the image from my guest. They've got the title, and they've also got my theme as well, because I have those 3 different themes that I talk about. I then get my virtual assistant to go into my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, and I'll make sure that my videos are put in the right series and playlist on Facebook, and on YouTube that it's been put into the Confident Live Marketing if I can say it, the Confident Live Marketing podcast playlist on my YouTube channel. Those are the kind of things that I will forget to do, so it's great to have them in the list as well. I then will try and go through the previous comments. If I can't get to them live, I will obviously mention any subscribers, not subscribers, comments. I will reply to comments live or orally, but I can't always reply while I'm live to those comments. So I'll actually go back and do that afterwards. Either do that natively on the platforms, or sometimes my virtual assistant will go in Agora Pulse, which is the social media management tool that I use, and we'll go through the comments and make sure that that she's reminded me to respond to those comments. So she'll assign those comments to me in Agora Pulse. And the great thing about Agora Pulse is it also works. Well, it works with Facebook and YouTube, but it also works with LinkedIn Live comments as well. Periscope, you can't do that on Periscope or Twitch, but it's not really a big deal for me. So I'll reply to those, and then I'll also make sure that I'm editing that. I'm recording the intro and outro segments of my podcast, which brings me on to the repurposing side of things. Repurposing. So I will turn my live show into a podcast, but also into a blog as well. So the first thing that I do is I edit the audio, and I do that. I use software called Adobe Audition. You don't have to use that. In fact, what you might want to do is keep it really simple. Just record it, use a service such as Ecamm Live or Restream or StreamYard or whatever, and then just send that off to a podcast editor. I found a really cool, really good podcast editor on Fiverr, but there are many good podcast editors out there. So you can either do it yourself, which is what I do, or get somebody else to do that. I will record my intro and outro segments. I will compose my silly little song, and then I'll upload that audio to Dropbox so that my virtual assistant has access to that, which is really important to the next stage, which is then uploading that to your podcast host. Now, the one I use is Captivate FM. I highly recommend Captivate FM. I found out recently that they were actually a really new podcasting host, and I found out actually I was the first ever customer of theirs, official customer of theirs. And because I've been kind of beta testing it right from the start, and I love it. It's Mark Asquith is a good friend of mine, and it's his baby, and he knows pretty much everything you need to know about podcasts. And so he's put together with his team this amazing service, Captivate FM. So I'll get my VA to upload my podcast to Captivate FM, add the show notes there, and she will schedule that. And all of that information, of course, is in my live video plan notes. So that's great. Now, I don't always do this, but what I want to do is I will extract the first 3 to 5 minutes of my video using rev.com. I will add that to Dropbox. And then what my idea is to get my virtual assistant then to upload that onto Facebook and YouTube, so that at least the first 3 to 5 minutes are there will be some captions on for that, but I haven't really done that on a week by week basis. It's something that I'm thinking about doing. I'll also make sure that the guest image is added to the Content 10x folder so that they've got that, so that it can repurpose purpose those into the social media images. Right. So the other things to think about is turning it into a blog. So make sure that you have a podcast category on your blog. So I've got a podcast category. My virtual assistant will create a new blog post based on a template that I've already created. She'll add the correct tag on there. She'll add the text from my. Do you remember the Google Drive file that I had before with all the notes in it. Well, she goes back to that and she'll add all of that information there. I will then go in and just make sure that everything's okay there. But once we've then received the images from Content 10X, she can then add that to the blog. She can add the tall Pinterest image there as well, and the Twitter image as well. I use a plugin called Social Warfare, so it can allow me to embed a different image for Pinterest and Twitter in the same blog post as well. Once that goes live, we can then add the MP3 to the podcast player at the top of my website as well. And then we'll also want to notify the guest that it's gone live as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I've kind of rushed through that a little bit. There's a few other technical things. For example, we add a redirect. So for example, if you go to today's episode is iag.me/58, we use Yoast SEO, or there's the redirection plugin, and you can basically that will allow anyone going to that short web address, it will redirect to the full full URL. So it's a great way of mentioning it on a podcast or a live show that you can allow people to get to that really quickly and easily. So there we go. There's a lot to be going through there, but that is my template. That's my process. I hope you found that really interesting and helpful. I will be putting a lot of that into a course and into a downloadable document in the future. So if you're interested in that, just send me a note. My email address is ian@iag.me, and I'd love to know what you think about that. So there we go. Right, I'm going to leave it there, but I hope you found that interesting. I'd love to know how you are putting your live shows together. If you've learned anything new, if you've got any tips for me, I'd also love to know as well. But until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact and authority and profits through the power of Confident Live Video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Confident Live Marketing Podcast with Ian Anderson Gray. Be sure to join the community at iag.me, where you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video. And until next time, toodaloo.